I'm David Cutler, professor of economics at Harvard University. The recession started in late 2008. It was, remember, just before the presidential election in 2008 that the economy really started to tank, and it kept going through 2009. So that's the official recession. What we've seen both before the recession, we noticed relatively slow increases in medical costs compared to what we would expect given the growth of the economy. And then particularly after the recession, the economy has ended the recession. That is, growth is positive, not high, but positive. But medical spending really never picked up, and it's remained extremely low since the recession ended. The HMO era was a little bit more sustained in the sense that while the growth of costs was a little bit higher, the economy was growing more rapidly. So the HMO era had about 6 or 7 years or so where medical care as a share of the economy didn't increase. Here, medical care has increased a little bit as a share of the economy because economic growth is so much lower than it was in the 90s. But in real terms, or in real per person terms, the growth is actually much lower than during the 1990s. Well, of course, nobody knows the answer to that. There are a few different scenarios. One is this is just a temporary lull associated with the recession. Healthcare will come back the way it has in the past. Increasingly, people doubt that will occur. That what we've seen is just too big and too prolonged for that to really be what's going on. The two other explanations, one is, maybe we're seeing some lingering effects of a huge recession, so maybe it'll pick up a little bit, but not all the way. Or second is maybe what we're seeing is the start of a new era defined by relatively low advances in technology, at least cost-increasing technology, big pushes towards provider efficiency improvements, big increases of cost sharing that individuals face, and that what we're seeing is not a temporary blip, but something that may be structural, and the effect may actually increase over time rather than diminishing over time. So we don't know which of those latter two possibilities it'll really be, but I think what we're pretty sure of is healthcare isn't going to come back to the old growth rates anytime in the next few years. We did two different things. The first thing we did was we looked at the relationship between growth in the economy and medical spending to figure out how much of the recent slowdown we can explain. And the answer is we could explain about a third of that through the economy. The second thing we did was we tried to look at what else was going on in the medical care system that could plausibly explain the remaining 2/3, some of which turns out to be payment changes in Medicare, but other parts seem like they're related to reduced cost-increasing technological innovation, higher cost sharing, greater efficiency efforts, all of which will seem like they will post-date the recession and therefore have an effect for many years to come. What we know is that when the economy grows more rapidly, medical spending grows more rapidly, partly because more people have jobs and are insured, partly because the benefits that firms offer are more generous, partly because people are feeling more comfortable in discretionary medical care, something they seek out more. So in general, medical costs increase about 1-for-1 with income. That is, if income goes up 2%, medical spending tends to go up about 2%. So that's what we took out. We took out the effect that you'd predict based on the economy doing extremely poorly for a couple of years. Medicare is doing a few things differently. One is the ACA reduced Medicare payments. So it reduced the excessive payments to Medicare Advantage plans. It reduced hospital update factors. Those each continue a series of policies that had gone on before, where Medicare had reduced update factors for Medicare Advantage plans because they thought that they were coding higher, greater severity of illness for their patients than doctors were coding outside of those plans. So that's one avenue that Medicare has chosen to pursue, which is direct payment changes. But in addition to that, Medicare has also changed the target policies. So for example, it's now penalizing hospitals for high readmission rates. It's penalizing hospitals for errors or infections acquired in hospitals. So it's changing the calculation about hospitals that hospitals make about how much to be investing in various safety measures and various preventive measures, and that's having an effect on how hospitals behave as well. One of the things that is true about the past few years is that people have lost their private insurance coverage and they moved on to particularly Medicare or being uninsured. And we know that private insurance pays more than Medicaid does. So we did a calculation which is, well, how much of what we saw could be explained just by people moving off of private insurance and onto Medicaid or being uninsured? And the answer is that's not a very big part. You get a little bit of the slowdown from that, but really not very much.